Hey, lacrosse fans, Scott Gabrielson here. Thank you for joining us for the Philadelphia Wings Alumni Spotlight. I've got the pleasure of talking with former Wings player and current head coach of the PLL Archers Lacrosse Club, number 20, Chris Bates. How you doing, Batesy?
Oh yeah, good to see you, Gabes. Thanks for having me.
So I want to kind of just give a little recap of your bio and your history with the Wings. First in college, you were a two-time All-America at Dartmouth College. And then you came to the Wings. You played 7 seasons for the Wings from 92 to 98. You won 3 world championships. You took a little break. You joined an expansion team for a year, the Charlotte Cobras, which I'll ask you about later. But, talk to me about what comes to mind and your experiences, on those great Wings teams.
Yeah, I mean, life-changing, really. I wasn't a Philly guy to start. And, the story goes for my tryout. I couldn't get a tryout for the New York Saints. I was living in Manhattan, and John Nugent was a Philly guy, but bumped into him on the street, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to try out for the Wings." And I said, how do I do that? So sent a little resume to Mike French, and never thought it would really amount to anything, but showed up and just saw guys competing, and decided to put my best foot forward. And Dave Evans took a shot at a young guy from Dartmouth, and sort of the rest was history in some regard. My first couple of years didn't scratch the lineup. I remember Wednesday night practices, right? And Wednesday practices were, they were dogfights. It wasn't like the Friday night guys get into town and you have a game the next day, so they were light. This was battle time. So I wanted to be there because I wanted to play. So I ended up spending a summer in Dallas Eliuk, out in New Westminster in his basement, lived down there. And, when I got back, I just had learned enough, and timing was such where I cracked the lineup, and then it was, I guess, tough to get me out of it. Coach Resch kept me in the lineup and won some championships, but, have just fond memories of playing with a phenomenal group of guys, learned so much, and it really has shaped me for sure.
Yeah, it's great. And you, as a player, you were an absolute battler. You're a guy that you're not the biggest guy, but let me tell you, paybacks were tough with you. If I jacked you up from behind in practice, and you're so right, those Wednesday practices, guys were fighting to get into the lineup for that Friday or Saturday night game. And we would kill each other to see who was going to get in the starting lineup. And if, by chance I jacked you up on one play and then the whistle blew and we had a timeout and Tony coached, the next time that ball, was live, I just remember getting laid out from behind or from the side by you. And it's like looking at me like, all right, Gabes, I'm here.
I didn't
I'm
know
not
any
going
other way,
anywhere.
right? You're wired in a particular way. And, I just, remember Chris Flynn would be one-on-one ground balls, and he would, to the one-on-one or that full field hell drill. And Flinner would always sort of line himself up next to me because he knew, like, iron sharpens iron. And he saw a young guy that, like, sort of had a little bit of an edge, and that's certainly helped me. But that elevated the practice, elevated, what we stood for as a team. And that's, that was borne out on practice day. And then you saw that sort of brotherhood and play for each other, happen on game day. And that was a separator for us.
Yeah, we had such great teams. And as I've talked to, Brian Volker and Bergie and the guys, like, you were one of the local nucleus guys that, we kept together for years, and we won 3 championships together. But I always just say, losing makes winning that much better. And it's, we know that you started off, kind of losing a couple of years, and then we won championships. But you learned the hard way, no way better than that one year in '96 when you went to the expansion team, Charlotte Cobras, and went 0-10. Talk about that experience and what it did for you going forward.
Well, it's funny. I had a couple beers with one of my former teammates last night down here. So a former Cobra, and we were just, sort of talking through. And if you look at that team actually had a ton of talent. It really did, but, just didn't have the pieces together quick enough to really compete. The coaching, there were guys that had never coached indoor. Joey Seibel's a great player and a really good coach, but it was all new, and this is a professional league. Like, it's no joke. So yes, Scott, we were 0-10. we still, Matt Oglesby, who a former wing was a Cobra, and what we did bring to the Cobras, we didn't lose a post game there either. But yeah, it's a lot more fun to win games and to have a legitimate chance at a championship. And that's one of the things I learned from the Wings experience was that's a standard. Every year that the standard was to win it. And when you got a group of guys, whose compass is dialed, towards that very same goal, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, let's talk about continue to talk about your coaching, the impact that you've had on players and the National Lacrosse League in general. Like you've coached some of the best guys in the game that are playing right now in the NLL. Let's talk about some of those guys. There's one guy, I think number 26, that's pretty good that you coached at Princeton, and you name it. Talk about
Thomas. He's an all-time great. He'll go down on the mantle as one of the best ever. Privileged to coach him at Princeton, and then kind of looped me into the PLL. And even when Tom was in college, he's like, "What do you think?" It's not an easy transition. You know as well as I, being a big time scorer in college, and then you were in a big time. We all realized that goal is a little bit smaller, and to put the ball in the back of the net, you had to do some different things and set picks and. But Tom asked me at one point, he's like, "You think I could play?" And I'm like, if anybody could make a transition, from field, because he had never really played box. Like kids grow up playing box now, much more so. So they understand the two-man game. They understand off-ball play. Tom didn't. So to see his success, he was shot out of a cannon, like as a feeder, as a finisher. So his success, now I coach a bunch of Toronto Rock who are, on the Archers. Challen Rogers is a guy that plays for us, Latrell Harris. So for me to see the overlaps, Zach Courier was a guy who I recruited to Princeton, who I just knew. I saw something early. I'm like, this dude's different. Had a phenomenal Princeton career. And now to see him be a PLL superstar and a net, like he's as good as it gets. So I've been really blessed, to coach a lot of really good guys. Graham Hossick's a guy who's, just a monster indoor and out. Like he's just one of these dudes that is an all-time great. So I just kind of get out of the way, I try not to screw him up too much and give him a pointer or two along the way. But, trying to build cultures and build with guys like that is I've been pretty lucky for sure. So
you are a local Philly guy, or you have been. Let's talk about the current team and the Wings team. What do you think about, the current Wings and the National Lacrosse League?
Yeah, I'm all in. I watch a lot, both my GM role with the Archers, I'm always scouting and looking and just keeping tabs of the market. But, I'm a Philly Wing through and through, even though I got guys, on the Seals and the Rock, and like I have guys that play for me, and I'm always, the beauty of ESPN is my poor wife, right? I mean, you get the early game and then you get the late game and you're on your phone, you can just watch. So I watch a bunch, but, my heart is always a Wing. And, I've gotten to know Paul Day a little bit, and Jeff McComb I sat down with a couple of weeks ago, just talking offense and trying to, pick his brain. I went out to a practice, so I dial in to watch them. So, goalie's great. Higgins is the real deal, man. He's fun to watch. That back end is young and fast, and, watching them develop. I coached I recruited Ben McIntosh to Drexel, which is a little tidbit.
Right, yeah.
Never had the chance because I had moved to Princeton, but then Benny was a first year Archer. So, have a great relationship with him and his family. Blaze, I know, watching Joe Rez, I've seen forever. So, this team has, watching that Halifax win, you can see the seeds with Blaze back and Holden back healthy. Mitch Jones is primetime guys. So I'm all in, man. I love the team. I love how they're coached. So I'm a fan, but I'm also, trying to learn and always grow. But it's, it's fun. I went through an old closet and I have every jersey. Some of the shorts are a little crusty. I got little known fact, my first year I was number 30 my first year. And then everyone from there was 20 after, big head Matt Moore was no longer with the Wings.
Yeah. Now you're covered so many bases with what you're doing in coaching and, at every level, but you're also a really proud dad, watching your sons play. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm happy to be a college lacrosse dad, and that's not an easy role, just given all my background. But all I want to do is be supportive and root. And so my son Nicholas is a senior at Williams College, and is a midfielder there, and has had a great experience. They were an NCAA tournament team last year. I get to as many. So part of my deal with the high school teams I coach is like Saturdays I'm out, man. Like I made a promise to my son that I would be there because my parents were so great in support. And then my stepson Charlie's a senior at Lafayette, and to watch their growth and their success in his career has been exciting. So yeah, you've lived it. It's just a fun experience, and meeting other parents and just hanging out on Saturdays. And so I get to as many games as I possibly can, and just love to support the boys.
That's great. Well, best of luck to them. We'll be watching senior years for both of them. We've got another connection to the Bates family playing in the college ranks. So tell us what you're doing right now. I know there's a new position you've taken on at St. Andrews. Give us a little bit of rundown there.
Yeah, fired up. It's such a cool spot. It's about 45 minutes south of Philly. It's in Middletown, Delaware, and it's just this 2,200 acre beautiful campus. Kind of a sleepy place that I didn't know a whole lot about, but sort of word of mouth from some guys that they had inquired about my availability. I'm like, I'm a coach's coach, and ready and excited to dive in. So this spring will be a first season down there. Some good talent, some good young guys, and it's 100% boarding. So guys come from all over the country. We have guys from Colorado, from Texas, from some from New England. So to me, what I love doing is just building culture and building a team and getting guys excited to play the game. And so this first season is going to be a lot of fun, and kind of hoping to be there for a while. It's just got this great vibe. It's a school that knows what they're about. Academically it's great, but it's not one of these prep school factory places. Everybody's valued for everything they do. So one of our better players is in the play. So you're just allowed to develop in many different ways, and I think it just meets with what my values are, and we're excited to jump on board and get going this spring.
Well, congratulations. Good luck with that. That St. Andrews is very lucky to have a coach like you, the pedigree and experience that they're bringing to the program. So best of luck. We'll be watching you there.
Appreciate it.
All right. So I want to thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. I think that the fans at home that are watching this see the connection that the old wings have to the new wings that are on the floor today, and the impact you've left on them as a coach. So thank you for everything you do for lacrosse. You're a great teammate, great friend, and I appreciate you joining me today.
Same. Fun to talk, fun to see you. Love you.
Yes, sir. I love you too, man.
Always together, baby.
Yes, sir. All right, Wings fans, thanks so much for joining us on the Alumni Spotlight. I'm Scott Gabrielson for Chris Bates. He'll be signing autographs this weekend at the Wings game. So we'll see you next time. Go Wings.